Alright guys, Geeky Rocket here, back with a workbench update video for my next build, which is going to be the JagdTiger Henschel production type. And it's going to be a 1/35th scale Dragon kit. And as you guys have probably already picked up on, I love the Dragon kits, even though their instructions are terrible and at times the build can be very tedious and get a little hairy-carry. But that'll be the subject for the next build that I do. And right now, this is where the build is at so far. Again, I probably started this build around in my late or mid to late teens. I think I started this actually when I started or constructed the Dicker Max way back when. Back in those days, I was very impatient with building kits. I just wanted to get them all built up just to see how cool they looked, all constructed. So there was a time where all I did was just built a few of them just to see them, see how they looked, just all built up. So, but as for this one, unlike the Dicker Max build, I actually did not throw paint on it, and I am very glad that I didn't. This will ease the painting job later on, as the one major thing with this build so far is because of when I constructed this way back when. My lack of experience shows on this build or construction of it anyways, as there's a lot of seams to be removed from parts, as well as a lot of filling and sanding that I'll have to do as well, just to bring it up to snuff to where my skill level is at right now. So as you can see, there are, let me just zoom in a little bit, and we'll go ahead and brighten her up. Oh, there we go. So you might be able to pick up on, especially on the tracks, these are DS tracks, or not DS tracks, sorry, Lincoln Length Magic tracks. And there's ejector pin marks on each of the individual track lengths. So because I didn't glue anything down, this will make sanding a lot easier. And even on some of the grab handles and grab bars, I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up, but way back when I had a terrible job at removing those small parts from the sprue. So what I'm gonna have to go back and do is build it up with a little bit of putty and then resand them down to the shape that they should be. I guess chunks kind of came out of the part when I was removing it. So that's no good. I'll have to go back and re-putty it and then sand it down again, which is fine. I'll talk a little bit about the build. The build was pretty straightforward. The instructions again were a little confusing at times, but overall it was fairly straightforward. I chose to add some modifications. As you can see, I've added some fenders, or left some fenders off, just to give it a unique look. And this way, I'll be able to detail the tracks a little bit more, show the tracks in a different light. What else did I do? I used a Dremel tool to kind of bore holes, or bore like a pot mark onto some of the aluminum fenders here, and then with a pin vise I drilled out small little holes just to simulate kind of like bullet holes, like it's been shot at by small arms fire. Oh, also going forward with this build, I do plan on removing these front fenders. I think the tank looks really cool without the fenders there. Again, that'll show off the tracks nicer when I get to the weathering stage. I'll be able to show heavy mud effects along in where the tracks are. I think the toughest part about this build was probably adding these small little photo etch parts that you can see along the superstructure of the firing mechanism and along the lower deck here. I believe there's like eight aside, and then you have a few on top of the gun mantlet as well. That was very tricky to get all set into place. I super glued those down. I think I might have to go over and kind of sand off some of the super glue that is still there. It kind of went down in clumps, so I'll have to go back over and fix that. As for that, I'm going to be using the metal gun barrel. This is a 128mm anti-tank gun that was employed on this vehicle. A little background history on this vehicle as well. Only 85 were ever built. I think production started from July of '44 to the closing months of World War II. 74 of them were the Henschel production type, and 11 of them were the Porsche production type. And literally the only difference between the two designs was the road wheels. The Henschel production type used Tiger 2 road wheels and used 9 of them, whereas the Porsche production type, or the Porsche design, only chose to use I believe 8 road wheels, and it was the road wheels that are associated with the Tiger P and the Ferdinand tank destroyer road wheels. So this was the top of the food chain in regards to tank destroyers in Second World War. It sported the biggest gun deployed on the battlefield, and however, it did have its limitations. It was produced in very few numbers when production was struggling to maintain or keep up with the war effort during the closing year and a bit of the Second World War. The power plant that was used to power this was severely undersized. The engine that it ended up using, or ended up being chosen for this project, was actually designed for the Tiger 1. And even at that time, the Tiger 1's engine was undersized for that vehicle, and this is, I believe, 20 or so tons heavier than it. So it had its maneuverability issues as well. There's only 10 degrees of gun traverse either way. So what ended up happening was the crew had to reposition the tank every time it wanted to fire, which caused heavy strain on the suspension system, causing a lot of breakdowns. So in the end, it was a fantastically well armored and well equipped in regards to the gun for a tank destroyer of that time. However, because it was produced in such low numbers and the mechanical aspect was lacking, it didn't perform very well overall, and was not the super weapon that the Germans were looking for late in the war. So that's where the build is so far. Again, for ease of painting, and what I'm glad I didn't end up doing when I was years ago when I first started this build. Nothing is glued down. I mean, even the gun barrel I haven't glued, and you can actually see how the gun barrel is sitting right now. It is, because of the weight, it's aluminum, so because of the weight it's sitting down, so I'm going to have to figure out a way to weight or glue down the gun mechanism within the superstructure so that it's horizontal or a little above the horizontal line, because I chose to have the gun traveling lock not in use. So I kind of like how it is. I'm pretty sure the only reason why I chose to have the gun traveling lock not in use is because I had the gun traveling lock on the Dicker Max in use, so I wanted to change it up. But nothing's glued down. All these tracks you see on the side are not glued down to facilitate ease of painting later on. Even the tracks are not glued together. So I can remove the tracks, I can remove all the road wheels and idler wheels and drive sprockets. So this will definitely make weathering the underhull a lot easier this time around, because there was some difficulties with the Dicker Max with everything being assembled and painted already. So hopefully going forward with weathering on the lower hull anyways, it'll be a lot easier. So I'm glad I didn't kind of glue and set anything in place permanently. As for that, actually, I think I can still take this off. Yeah, I didn't even glue down the upper and lower hulls together, which is good. Remove the gun mantlet. Whoop. Oh, that was a little more well secured than I thought. So that's basically what the gun firing mechanism looks like. I probably won't end up adding paint on the inside just because I have all the hatches closed. So you won't really see any of this anyways. So I'll probably leave that as is. So that is the build so far in regards to construction of this beast. Again, here are some, I've also done the tow cables already. And it also came with a brass shell, so I may add that somewhere. I'm not too sure yet. And I've also done the jack. So that's it for the build so far. I do plan on making this into a diorama. And as for the scheme, I'm going to be choosing or going with one of these two schemes. It's basically just the Dunkelgleb base coat with dark green and red-brown camouflage stripes, and this one is Dunkelgleb base coat with just dark green stripes, and I haven't decided on whether or which scheme to go with yet. But this identification number just basically means Schwer Panzerjäger Abteilung 653, and that roughly translates into English the 653rd Heavy Panzerjäger Battalion, or Tank Destroyer Battalion. So these vehicles, I did do some research, and these vehicles did not enter service, but took part in the Ardennes Offensive, and that's going to be the theme of this diorama, is going to be the Ardennes Offensive in January. The Ardennes Offensive did, of course, start in late 44, December of 44, but it wasn't until January that the JagdTigers were able to get to the battle, get to the front, or on the west, or in the west, sorry. So as for how the diorama is going to be laid out later on, is basically almost the same way you see here on the box art. I'm going to have a heavily muddy roadway that it'll be traveling on, and I'm going to attempt, this will be the first time I'm going to attempt to recreate snow as well, so that'll be definitely a learning experience. And probably on the side of the road, on one of the sides of the roads, I'll be adding, again, Model Scene's handmade trees. So you may have seen that in the Dicker Max build. I'm not sure if I'm going to add one or two this time around though. So I'll figure that out when I get going on with the diorama and such. And also, in addition to the groundwork that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be adding Dragon's figure kit. It's late war, so the equipment is authentic to the theme and date in which I want to set this tank destroyer in. And again, a couple of the guys are sporting the splinter muster or splinter camouflage scheme. So what I may do is, because I know a lot of people have difficulty with this scheme, and some of you guys were wondering how I accomplished the finish that I did on the Dicker Max build with those tank crew members. I may do a tutorial on how I achieve my splinter camouflage finishes. So that'll be interesting. I've never done a hand painting tutorial before, so that'll be a first as well. What I may do with this kit is, as well, as you can see, or you may be able to notice, I haven't even taken this out of the plastic yet. So what I may do is do an inbox kit review on this as well. I know a lot of people, and I may be wrong about this, but from what I've seen, there haven't been many figure kit reviews. So I may do that as well, fairly soon actually. So I'll probably start on these figures as well as I'm cleaning up the JagdTiger build. So that is that. Again, the base that I'll be using is kind of similar to what I did with the Dicker Max. I'll probably start off with a styrofoam base, build up a nice border around it, and then add the groundwork in a similar fashion as to that build as well. So that is it for now. That's the build so far, and first thing to do is go back and, like I said before, is just clean up the JagdTiger, and then I'll get going on the figures and start the groundwork. So that's what's up next. As for that, you guys, thanks for watching. Take care, and cheers. I'll be back as soon as I can.